So what is the scope of this complex project? There's a lot of things. We're going to change the Fremont interchange into what's called a single point urban interchange. We're going to build a bridge structure for this braided ramp. We're going to build non-standard retaining walls because of seismicity. We're going to build new sound walls, landscaping, utility locations, and we're going to weave in bike and pedestrian plans there, and much more. Affect this Fremont school, all of that, and accommodate that. And in researching this, this is a diagram that was shown to City Council and to a few public meetings of how the traffic that comes on the 710 and a little bit from other roads divides itself in Alhambra. And this is a very famous little diagram in this. It basically says about 60,000 vehicles are coming in every day on this stub. About 14% goes sort of to El Sereno, just goes westward on Valley. 10% kind of stays in the city and 12%, so about 22% stays in the city. A big chunk, 38% goes north, and about 25% goes east. Who are the cities to the east? San Gabriel, maybe San Marino. Keep that in mind, we'll come back to that. And this was, so I said, well, what is the basis of this? Where did this come from? This is based on a model called Select Link, which acts on data from SCAG, which is a Southern California Association of Governments, which then takes a different model projecting to 2040, and two SADSAC engineers from a subcontractor called Iteris prepared a spreadsheet that supposedly provides support for this map. I only found that out based on Public Records Act request in December, after asking for this information for the longest time. So there are sub-alternatives, there are alternatives with more right-of-way impacts, fewer right-of-way impacts, but conceptually this is a complex interchange, and it is made even more complex to build because it's in the middle of an urban area. You're not doing it out in the boonies with new freeways going out somewhere else. This is in the thick of a major arterial, Fremont Avenue, and I-10, which is a very busy freeway, and you'll have to construct this kind of like working on your car engine while you're driving the car, right? And here is the rationale, my friends, that our consultants said why this needs to go first. They say I-10 Fremont is the key to the use of the 710 stub. How is that? The idea is this, and this is where I'm going to ask you for your imagination because I don't have a video prepared. Pretend you're coming north towards Valley Boulevard in the afternoon, any day on the 710, okay? We all know, if you've done that there's a little bit of gap or slowdown of the traffic that is trying to go on to the 10 east, right? Actually to the 10 west, all the 10 traffic. And you know why that gap exists? Or why that slowdown exists? Because there is a rise. When you go up, there is a little bridge structure, both the eastbound and westbound traffic. And if you're going eastbound, if there's a truck or two or three, it slows down, making that rise. And on top of it, there are smart Alecs who are always waiting till the last minute and cutting across, right? We've seen those. Very social people who add to that confusion, right? But what happens after you go over the rise? Most of the time, it is free-flowing traffic because you come down the ramp, there's another join, you come down the ramp, and then you join I-10. And then the traffic sorts itself, right? There's I-10 traffic coming from the left, and yes, some of the traffic is trying to go to Fremont, but some of the traffic that just joined from the 710 is trying to go to the main line I-10. I've never found a backup there, okay? The backup is on I-10 because of the bridge. But our smart consultants said that, you know what? That weave between eastbound I-10 and 710 ramp controls the performance. And what they meant is, when you're driving on the 710 and you see this backup and you do want to go on the 10, you said, you know what, that's too long. I'm not going to wait crawling in traffic for a mile. I'm going to instead go straight to Alhambra on the 710, make a right turn on Fremont, and if I'm going to San Gabriel, I'm going to go through 18 to 20 lights before I go to San Gabriel. So I said, really? Most of the time, freeways can be slower. It'll still get you faster to your destination because people underestimate the time it takes to go through lights. So I said, okay, where's the modeling for this? Where is this cut-through traffic that you've hypothesized? And you said 15,000 cars, okay? 15,000, 25% of roughly 60,000, 15,000 cars are cutting through. And by the way, that math is not my math. That math was done by then Mayor Maloney when he was the mayor, and I have the tape, okay? Because he did the simple math, just like I did here, mental math. I said, there's no way on hell 15,000 cars are coming on Fremont, on Valley rather, going past Fremont and heading down Valley. Most of the traffic goes on Fremont North and goes to the Mission, goes straight. A huge amount of traffic does not continue on Valley. It doesn't even go to Mission and continue on Mission to go to San Gabriel or San Marino. It just doesn't. So I drove that day after day, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, okay? And you know what I found? Most of the time, a few cars go down, and a couple of them actually turn around in front of Chonitos to be smart and get back and join, essentially going cut-through traffic. There is no cut-through traffic. There is no basis for cut-through traffic. And based on this hypothesis, we basically went along with the idea that we are going to create a braided ramp, okay? We are going to create a structure that is going to come from the 710, avoid this little interweave between the mainline 10 and Fremont, and we're going to build this massive structure to go and land on the other side of Fremont, okay? A grade separation. So the traffic will flow freely from the 710, go, and you know that's quite a distance. That's about 1.6 miles, starting from where the 710 backup happens all the way to beyond Fremont. So we're going to build that. We're going to build this. So we don't like the weave, so we're going to grade separate this thing and build a big ramp. And that ramp is going to have elevated sections, underneath sections, and it's going to go all the way to after Fremont Avenue. This elevated structure. I'm going to skip over some of my discussion with the city manager, where I asked for details, and what is important here is that she confirmed that consultants cannot talk to me, and there is not staff with the expertise to respond to your request. Okay? So I'm waiting to hear from city leaders how they suddenly have new answers now. Because as of 4 months ago, staff did not have the ability to respond to my questions. Remember, I've been working with them for 3 years to try to get to the bottom of this. I prepared questions in mid-November for all our consultants. It's a matter of public record. Each of the city council members got those. Those consultants were never given my questions. So let's look at what is the current state of play using data for that Fremont project with the braided ramp and so on. Remember, today is the 5th of February, 2026. According to the city's official records, all of the environmental documents, and I'll talk about the EIR, will be completed on Monday, September 7, 2026. You can count the months. 7 months and 2 days, right? We will have everything done. We haven't even begun this process, my friends. I've been doing EIRs for 35 years as part of my professional work. There is not a snowball's chance in hell that we're going to get this done in 7 months. But wait, it gets better. The overall project will be completed with the braid and everything else by, what, you see the ribbon cutting? 11 of 2028, which is 34 months from today. If I'm alive in 34 months, I will come to the ribbon cutting. I might even get a big scissor myself. It is laughable. But that's not the worst story. The worst story is we don't have money to do this. And let me walk you through the budget. So I've talked about schedule. Now let me talk about budget. The current budget for that project, the braided ramp, everything, all those elements in the scope that I talked about, is around $100 million. Anytime as an engineer I see numbers like this, I know somebody was just guessing. Right? You don't do a real estimate and come up with everything like this. These are best guesses. And you know what? These best guesses happened way back in 2017. They were modified in 2023, but they're still the best guesses. Nobody actually went out to get bids on these things. And I'll just break it down for you. These are environmental documents and engineering documents, okay? About 9 million. RW stands for right-of-way, because there's right-of-way issues. And this budgeted for about 43 and change. Construction support is project management, which is about 10% of construction capital, which is 43 million, and you're going to get $100 million. The actual construction of the whole thing, the interchange, the braided ramps, sound walls and retaining walls and everything else will be done magically in 2028, 2027 for $43 million. Now, this may not impress you guys. The city is doing a project right now for a community center on Shorb Avenue, 17 to 20,000 square foot building. We're going to spend north of $30 million for that project. That's the current budget, and going up actually. Some of it from grant money from the state senator and our representative, but a chunk of it from our own funds in the city, okay? So this doesn't make sense at all. So I put together this number, and I'm going to walk you through this. I took the same line items. I said, I'm not even going to escalate to $2029. I'm just going to be very generous here and say, you had your engineering and environmental documents. I'll just keep the same number in $2029. You know that's not true. This is going to be even higher in $2029. But I'll be generous. I was feeling exceptionally generous when I put this table together, okay? I'll keep the right-of-way the same, okay? And we'll come back to that in a second. Maybe we can do this with no right-of-way changes. Because that seems to be a theory right now. Yeah, we won't need the right-of-way, fed by our city leaders. And my answer to that will be, if you don't need the right-of-way, why are you doing the interchange project anyway? Why? Why are you messing with that interchange if you're going to do this with such a light touch that you're not going to change anything? It's a congested area. There's a public storage building there. There are private residences. You turn any direction, there are right-of-way issues. And if you're going to thread the needle and do this without right-of-way, what is it going to accomplish in terms of the traffic mitigation that has been modeled? Nothing. So here's what I will show you for a few of the line items. The braided ramp itself, even for a half-mile braided ramp, is going to cost about $160 million. Sound walls, I've said 1.5 miles of them, about $36 million. Retaining walls, and I didn't even add, these are non-standard retaining walls. Costs are even higher because of seismicity. I've said conservatively about 15 million, and the interchange is about 50 million because we have to do them in the future. So my conservative number is about north of $339 million. Yes, Melissa?
Just how come come those numbers aren't in the projected budget for the city? Did they not include the graded ramp, sound walls, retaining?
It's all here. It's all here. It's all here. It's all lumped together in construction capital. I'm breaking it out here. So now let me show you some proof. Ron, how did you come up with these numbers? Okay, so let me walk you through them. Let's take the braided ramp. I didn't do engineering estimates because I don't have all the information to generate drawings and millions of dollars to go out to bid. But this is a project that just finished last year on the 7191 interchange, okay? Much less traffic than I-10. And they did a half-mile ramp, literally. They did a half-mile ramp to come from the 91 eastbound to the 71 northbound, okay? Half a mile, it cost them $137 million. Actual cost. A couple of years ago. I took that actual cost, and even though our ramp is going to be much longer, again, feeling kind of generous, said, just sticking with that and escalating it, I'm at $160 million in 2029, okay? So that's that answer. Sound walls, let's look at sound walls. I was fortunate that City of Pasadena in 2023 and Metro did a big estimate from sound walls along the 210 freeway. Not too far from here, not too far back in time. And their cost was they wanted to add 4.5 miles, 4.2 miles of sound walls, and their estimate was between $42 and $84 million. This is Metro and City of Pasadena. And this is 2019 dollars. So I did some escalating math. I took the midpoint of this. I said 1.5 miles instead of 4.2 miles. Did my escalator, and I said I came up with $36 million. So if you're tracking, that's the $36 million. I did not do a non-standard retaining wall analysis because it required a lot more civil engineering detail that I did not have. But I have conservatively assumed that a retaining wall, which is a much more structurally imposing from a civil engineering standpoint, is going to cost less than half of even the sound walls, okay? I think I'm going to stand by that. I don't have a full backup for that, in all honesty. This is my estimate. But let's look at this last one, SPUI, the interchange itself. I got one value from Colorado. SPUI in setting aside acquisition cost, $55 to $65 million. LA County, by the way, State Route 47 near the Port of Los Angeles, they did one for $130 million. So I said, I'm going to be generous again, and I'm going to just use $50 million. So even if you don't believe my 15 on the retaining walls, and even if you remove all the right-of-way, remember how much money is left. At most 200 million, right? If you do this project, you're going to not even be able to complete that. This is well north of 200, and I think I'm conservative. So you will not do that. So that's the bottom line. So how much of money, same slide, we have about 200 million today, remember? We have allocated for the pedestrian plan and the synchronization projects and some money spent by consultants, and we have 200 million. You do the math now. 200 we have, 340 at the best. You don't believe me? Okay, maybe 300. The math is simply going to be what? If the city continues on the current path and wants to complete the Fremont project, which their consultants have told them to do with no justification, because there's no cut-through traffic to begin with, and caused 4+ years of delay trying to get approval from Caltrans, there is not money enough to even complete that project. And certainly, there won't be any money to do anything else, right? Because all we got is $200 million left. Lock, stock, and barrel. We won't get the stub. Remember, the stub was the reason why we even got any money to begin with. And we won't even complete the project that is in the lead position today. And magic is not, or hope is not, a strategy. So what should be the path forward? What should the city do if you're faced with this kind of situation? What seems logical? Well, you change direction, right? You can't plow forward just because somebody's telling you, somebody's telling the council, somebody's telling the city manager, some consultant is telling somebody who's telling somebody else, trust me, I got this, when by any definition, you cannot be trusted with the numbers.